You too,
Well,
man.
good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm coming to you from an undisclosed location deep in the heart of flyover country. Jay Campbell, my broadcast partner, is out in the city of Angels or there's about. How are you tonight, Jay?
I'm awesome, brother. It's always a pleasure to see you and to talk to you and connect with you and to connect with all of the amazing followers and listeners of The Last Stand.
Yep, the best, most highly educated chat room on YouTube, I'm convinced.
Yeah, I agree. No
And we
doubt
could
about it.
read all the names of the people that are in here, but there's so many of them that would take about half the show.
Yeah. And by the way, too, and I know you know this, Jeff, the comments that these folks leave are absolutely amazing. We
They
don't even
are.
have any trolls anymore.
Very, very few. And it's funny, the more I'm starting to get more of my content from my audience. It's amazing. This really is not just my channel anymore. It's a group effort.
Well, I mean, remember, as you and I preach every single show since day one, we are all one. It is a collective. And as soon as we raise our vibration with as some raise, everyone gets raising. And that's exactly what's happening on our show. For sure.
Absolutely. And Jay, some things that we talk about fairly regularly, we talk about vegans and we talk about the militant vegan movement. And I don't know if you've heard about this or not, but in the last couple of weeks, several of the huge vegan channels on YouTube have crashed and burned because one, their leader got caught not being vegan anymore, but eating regular food. And the others are changing because Jay Campbell, just like you said, after many years of being vegans, they're getting sick and they're getting life-threatening illnesses. So they're realizing the vegan lifestyle is not long-term it's sustainable. It's just not.
No, it's not. I mean, obviously, in the realms of the quantum, all is possible. And we do know that there are outliers. And, I like to speak in very scientific and abject, extremist terms a lot of times. And there's, you can't do that. There's always outliers. But I mean, again, from my understanding of nutrition and all the exercise, I mean, not exercise science, but nutritional science and dietetics, and I've been reading those studies and this stuff for 20 years, I've always known that there were select, animal proteins and the specific amino acids that come from those that, if not metabolized by the human brain after a certain amount of time, it does cause mania, psychosis, all kinds of breakdowns, even micronutrient deficiencies, which again,
digestive issues.
Right. Oh yeah. Everybody becomes dysbiotic for the most part after about 10 years. And what that means to everybody watching is dysbiosis is when your stomach, your gut, essentially your microbiome or your microbiota, however you phrase to it, is infected. And it can be infected with all sorts of pathogens, bugs, candida, yeast, even virus, microviri are down there. It's nasty. And again, all of us have that unless you're a regular faster.
Right.
Because when you fast through the process of autophagy, you cleanse the microbiota. Now, obviously, metformin helps with that pathway, lowering your insulin from eating less food, not eating sugar, not drinking a lot of alcohol. Because alcohol and sugar, what do? They cause acidic conditions in the stomach. What do those other two things, Jeff, lead to? Cancer in humans.
They do. And folks, the only reason I bring this up is if you want to be a vegan, that's your personal choice. But you have to understand these people with these huge YouTube channels, they're basically on permanent vacation. They're under ideal conditions. They have plenty of time to cook. They have people cooking for them. They've got none of the stresses of the normal 9-to-5 money magic system as Jay describes it. And if they, under absolutely pristine, ideal conditions, cannot keep themselves from having very serious and in many cases life-threatening sicknesses after a prolonged experience on a vegan lifestyle, I would just urge you the highest of caution should you choose to go down that route as a sovereign, divine, and free soul.
Well, Jeff, here's another thing, and I'm glad you're bringing this up because it's very relevant to our show, right? Because we talk about spiritual and physical optimization. And this is very important because a lot of people in our community, however you refer to us today, personally believe that choosing to not desecrate life by eating other life forms is a spiritual choice and an evolved spiritual choice. And I agree. And I think
I know you honor that.
Exactly. And we agree too. But the issue becomes we live in a toxic soup bowl and everything around us, for the most part, that people eat because, again, of convenience, financial limitations, is manufactured, right?
Right.
as if God didn't make it, you shouldn't eat it. And the problem that vegans ultimately have, and we have not talked about this on the show, but I mean, I'm very aware of this, is that they avoid meat. And so obviously a lot of man-made stuff, I mean, God-made stuff is meat. So then what ends up happening is in that short time to make choices, you pick manufactured foods. And so a lot of vegans eat a staple of very, very trans fat, high glycemic, simple sugar, HFCs, which is high fructose corn syrup type food. And that leads to all sorts of peripheral, biological system breakdown over time. And then of course, we're talking about what ends up happening with the lack of amino acids due to not getting animal protein. Dude, it just creates a really bad system. And you're right. Most people after a decade and some of them a lot less. And the studies show that the average vegan becomes, recalcitrant by about 6.5 years. And that's a hardcore vegan. So somebody who goes 10 years is actually bucking the trend. But yeah, man, it was probably easier, Jeff, if you think about it. 30 or 40 years ago, if you chose to be vegan, you didn't have all this shit to consume.
Right.
And so you ate lentils, greens and stuff that wasn't saturated and sprayed with all these harmful contaminants and chemicals. And so you probably could survive a lot longer as a vegan, again, choosing to be a vegan versus today. And you've got all of these horrific compounds that they layer on the foods to preserve them. And that's in your body and your body can't metabolize.
It's a mess. It really is. So think this over, consider this before you head down that lifestyle. And if you're in that lifestyle, please, for your health's sake, just think it over and ponder it. And something else I'm very hesitant to bring up, but it's just too weird not to bring up. And I hope we can keep it between the lines, as we don't want to say anything or do anything that gets our channel shut down. But Jay, over the last 3 days, we've had, 2 days ago, one of the survivors of the Parkland shooting shot herself. They say. 2 days ago, yesterday, another one of those Parkland survivors shot themselves. And today, a father of one of the people that died at, what was the name of the place up there? Sandy Hook, killed himself.
Right.
So 3 days, 3 suicides of people related to those horrific events. I have a hard time believing that would be coincidental, Jay.
So we could just expand on this. I mean, of course it's not, Jeff, but we can expand on this. And again, you and I know that QAnon, for whatever you think of it, is truth with error. There's multiple QAnons, there's disinfo QAnons. But if you go back to what this QAnon person, and again, I don't follow QAnon, Jeff doesn't follow QAnon, but we have plenty of people in the audience that do, and they send us things. But somebody sent me something 4 days ago, and it was regarding now that Trump cannot be found, colluding. There was no bull BS Russian colluding, all of this stuff. There's no charges. And so what the QAnon group said is that enjoy the show because now everything is going to unravel. And so how far back do we have to go? Let's just go back 3 weeks. We had, the student or the admission scandal, right? All these rich people, all these actors and actresses, it goes into the institutions itself, the athletic programs, people are on the take. It's insane how deep that corruption goes. Then this morning, and then, I could give you a bunch of other things that's happened too. A lot of naturopathic doctors are dying again. Did you see they found a guy in a trunk in Vegas yesterday?
Just unbelievable.
So all of this stuff is coming out, Jeff, right? And that's what he's saying. He's saying, look, there's no, there's no gag order anymore. They don't have, meaning the cabal, they do not have control over what they can disseminate and what they can't. And so just expect all kinds of nonsense. So did you see, I wanted to add this because this is mind blowing. I put this in our group, in our WhatsApp group this morning. This guy, Stormy Daniels' attorney, that scumbag, whatever his name is, he said that he has massive information on Nike and huge global worldwide sports, entertainment and sports leaders. And he could bring them all out. And then he was going to have a press conference tomorrow at 11 o'clock. And then, dude, 45 minutes later, they announced that he was being indicted and arrested and charged.
Whoa.
So yeah, people in the group, did you guys see this today? You talk about stuff that's going on in real time. It's unbelievable. So he posted that update this morning, and it made all the what do you call it? The airwaves, AP, every single channel, because I get the updates because it's NCAA tournament season right now, and I love NCAA college basketball. So it says he's going to bring down Nike and a lot of other very important people. And then 45 minutes later, I get another notification that's saying he's being arrested.
It's crazy, Jay. And while we're here, let's just look at March Madness, college basketball, college football, the billions, that's what the billions of dollars that these sports generate. Don't you think it's high time? Both of us were college athletes. Don't you think it's high time for college athletes to be paid?
100%. And well, I mean, let's be honest. The whole thing is a joke because the best ones are being paid.
Right.
I mean, they fired Will Wade at LSU, over no proof other than that they have him on tape. The FBI is investigating. By the way, back to that story. Somebody that is messaging me in the background right now saying that there's way more to that story. I think you know who this is because evidently, this is crazy. They arrested him before he went and broke the news because it will spoil their investigation.
Oh, boy. So
it's like bigger stuff is going to come out by a quote unquote whoever's investigating, which I would assume, again, is the FBI. So, Jeff, let me just pose this question. And let's see what the people that are listening to think. What if, and again, I know this is going to sound crazy, but what if Trump really has now taken back over our investigative agencies, our systems, checks and balances, law and order? And what if truly right now the white hats are now running the show? Is it possible?
I think that's highly optimistic. I think he's obviously won a big victory. I think mainstream media took another huge hit today with the Mueller report. I think it's too optimistic to think that Trump is back firmly in control, but you got to like his chances for 2020. And I'll make a prediction. I think you're going to see a lot of these parade of clowns that are running for the Democratic nomination. You'll see a few of them decide, maybe not such a great idea after all, because Trump is – he's in Huey Long territory. Huey Long was a governor of Louisiana for many, many years, and he was famous for saying, I can't lose unless they find me with a live boy or a dead girl. And that's about where Donald Trump is, I think, now. Obviously,
I don't believe that the good guys are running the show in the demiurgic construct, but ultimately, it's so bizarre at this point. I mean, it's again, it's like enjoy the show because you can't really tell who's who anymore. I don't know if it's white versus dark or dark versus white or upside down. I mean, it's crazy what's happening right now.
It really is. It is crazy. And speaking of crazy, I saw a story that caught my eye, and I know a lot of people have thought about this, but I hadn't really thought deeply about it. A professor from Montana Tech was saying that aliens, in his opinion, are most likely us coming back from the future to check ourselves out in the past. If you could go back to the past, Jay, would you?
So Dolores Cannon in the book Abduction says that's exactly what's going on.
Really? Okay.
So in her regression hypnosis, that was before she died. That was the last book that she wrote on the regression hypnosis, which obviously she's doing the Essene stuff and she's done a lot of stuff, but supposedly there's a group. And again, it's so hard to explain this, Jeff, because I don't think we understand time as time really is, right? We know time in the three-dimensional realm is linear, but if there really is no time outside of this space and time, this dimensional existence, then it makes sense that we would be, obviously overseeing or supervising or looking at us, meaning again, a part of us, right? Obviously a differently evolved part of us. But I mean, it does make sense that would be the case. And of course we would be, extraterrestrials or aliens if we were, traveling off world or colonizing interdimensionally or whatever. And it does make the most sense that that's what it is.
It is very interesting. Very interesting.
I mean, who are the Watchers, Jeff? I mean, if the Watchers are, the Order of Melchizedek, and then they're connecting the higher advanced, beings like the Ascended Masters, the people that are able to like separate from the matrix and remove themselves, then maybe that's truly what it is. And they can move it back and forth and time doesn't intercede. I don't know.
Well, it certainly gives us something to think about. Very, very interesting stuff as we move into starting to ponder about the Essenes and the Gnostic way and talking more about that as we get ourselves ready to head out to LeakCon in not too long. And I hope that people are getting their tickets or thinking about making their way out to Denver as well to join us at the RexCon LeakCon extravaganza.
Yeah, and like I said, I make a promise that everybody comes. I will take all of us to dinner. It's on me or wherever we're at. I mean, I know the hotel we're at. I do not know the area.
Right, I don't either.
But I'm definitely down for taking everybody who's a Last Stand subscriber, follower, fan, whatever you guys refer to yourself.
That's awesome. And somebody just said in the chat room, and I think this is true, that Trump, I mean, there's no way that you can get around the fact, I don't care if your name's Heidi Vandenberg, you can't get around the fact that Donald Trump was bailed out to the tune of $1 billion by those bankers he's bought and paid for. You don't walk away from those debts. So,
but they all are, dude.
But the only question is, how long is Trump's leash? He's on a leash. Right. How long is his leash? How much good is he allowed to do? Just as long as he does what he has to do to pay those investors back.
The money funders,
the Third Templars, the Temple Mounters.
Oh, dude, that's absolutely incredible. I mean, who knows, man? I mean, at this point, by the way, speaking of, and you saw I put that link in the group yesterday too, Donald Trump is a metabolic emergency.
Oh, he is. I know some of that is because he's wearing a vest.
He was wearing a coat. He looked like he was Omar the tent maker in that jacket yesterday.
And he was. I mean, he has been a thin guy, but I mean, he's definitely put
on 60 pounds easy.
He's a metabolic emergency. He really is, and it doesn't help that he's eating McDonald's and all that other crap.
Dude, I could not believe that, because when he first got into office, remember, everybody knew what his testosterone level was, his triglycerides, everything was public. He is definitely 1 foot right now.
I'm worried about him, and I know he's wearing a vest, and that makes something, has some a little bit, but dude, he'd have to be wearing one of those suits that they wear at the hockey game, those sumo suits, and battle each other for. I mean, he's really in trouble.
The bearded one said he's a Happy Meal waiting for a heart attack. That's exactly.
He really is. There's no prize in that Happy Meal.
I was astonished. I mean, he was walking and he had so much belly flubber hanging over his belt.
And I mean, and that's not him. He's not usually like that. So that just shows you how tough that job is.
Truly, dude. Absolutely. He needs your program. Yeah. He definitely does. He just needs to focus. I mean, I could not believe, you're right. He must just be eating so much fast food and not sleeping and stressing out, and God knows.
He's walking around the White House with a half-gallon of ice cream and a spoon.
Dude, maybe.
You know what he needs to do? The bearded one says about playing golf. He needs to get off the cart and start walking the course.
I know. Well, I mean, that's what we said last week. Remember? I mean, think about what Amazon has done to people. It makes people not even walk into stores to shop anymore.
I know, it's horrible.
I mean,
I love it, but it's horrible. I've got like 6 Amazon boxes stacked up on my porch right now.
Well, I mean, it's fine if you're buying books and stuff, but if you're buying clothing, especially like women, women like to go to stores and try on shoes, and now they're buying shoes off of Amazon because I know it fits me. I bought this brand before.
Yeah, go to the mall, walk around.
I mean, just get exercise, man.
Gregory Mansfield says President Trump isn't fat; he's just big boned.
He's just big boned.
Really big bone, like a Tyrannosaurus.
Dude, that guy
like a Velociraptor.
Definitely put on at least 60 pounds, man.
And we're just saying because we like the president and we want him to be healthy. And we would have said that about. Well, you got to say that about Barack. Barack didn't gain an ounce while he was in office. President Obama, he was there to be a rock star. Like, hi, I'm Barack Obama.
He just got like 20 clones, bro. It's simple to.
All Barack did was hang out with Jay-Z and.
Dude, Rock. I don't think Barack Obama, in the whole 8 years he was in office, was he ever even criticized one time?
I don't think so. Not
again, dude, Truman Show. Hello. Yeah. I mean, think about that. Let's just compare and contrast that for a second. This guy is the most harangued president in the history of America. And the guy before him never even had a peep. There was never even a peep.
You weren't even allowed to look at him funny.
Dude.
And I mean, everywhere it's funny how the media treats Donald Trump. And I remember they did everything but lay their jackets out in front of Obama and let him walk across them. It was it's horrific.
Joan Rivers said, Obama's gay and his wife is Michael, and she was dead 3 days later.
I know. I know. And she wasn't, and if I watched that just the other day, it's funny you say that because she wasn't being nasty. She was saying, "Oh, don't
No,
worry. There's nothing wrong with gays.
right.
We've got a gay right now in the White House, and Michelle is trans. It's don't worry about it." She was just taking it easy, man.
And
Like,
by, and
don't
by the way,
worry.
did you see?
And they killed that poor lady.
And again, and she was a famous A-lister, right?
She
So
was. I mean,
imagine what they'll do to you if they want you gone.
she goes in for a little throat procedure and she's dead.
And then, by the way, the doctor that performed the autopsy was dead one day later.
Now this I did not know. Joan, I forgot her last name. Now,
Joan Rivers.
Joan Rivers' doctor died a day later.
No, not the performer of the surgery. The doctor that performed the autopsy was dead.
Oh my God.
Yeah, dude.
What's the first rule of assassination, Jay?
Yeah, exactly.
Kill the assassins. Wow.
Dude,
and that's why, and someone, maybe the same person that's sending you the messages, but someone said too that coincidentally, with the Parkland suicides, with the Stormy, I don't know why I can't remember the name of that place. Shady Hook. What was it called? Sandy Hook.
Yeah, Sandy Hook.
All of them gunshot wounds to the head, which is ironic enough. Yeah. But what does that mean? Closed caskets.
Well, I mean, again, I want to get into the scenes, but this is a good break. But now Barack.
Closed caskets. Are they really dead, or are they just being managed?
I mean, don't even get me going on all these shootings. But Barack Obama's brother has been all over the news recently talking about Michael, telling people that his wife is a dude.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, he's gotten some I wouldn't call it mainstream, of course, but he's been in some pretty big, alternative, recognizable publications with the story. And you guys can fact check me on that and Google that, but it's been all over the place because I've had a couple of articles sent to me by family because I've been telling people the story about what I know about Barack's past experiences, because I met a guy in Las Vegas. I'm very open about this story in 2007, but I'm not going to talk about it here. But bottom line is, dude, we are living in the Truman Show.
And we need to say this, Gregory J. Mansfield, one of our great and regular listeners, said some colorful things about President Obama. And Gregory J. Mansfield says this, he says, almost every other black person, Gregory is a black person, I knew looked at me crazy back in the day when I said Barack Obama was full of shit. It would not do any good for the country. And, until we can all get to the place where we're like Gregory J. Mansfield, and just because our guy is in there, if we ever got a truther president, we still have to hold him to the same standards that we hold every other president. I like it when Donald Trump is a white president, rich guy, but I still hold him to the same standards. And, I've said it 100 times, and this bothers me, and I'll try not to say it again. But when you've got the population of the prisons in the U.S. over 50% black, population in the U.S. under 20% black, and a black president never said a damn word about it. No. Man, I'm white, but I know that ain't right.
No, dude, it's a sham. I mean, look, I've watched that CIA, that documentary that those amazing dudes did. They're black guys too that produced about the CIA, organizing hip hop with NWA and all that stuff, and how the whole thing was like a covert way to just destroy black culture. Because again, remember hip hop when it was in its true and purest form, and I was a huge hip hop fan, was all about preaching information and knowledge and teaching people about the way you're supposed to live in the world. And then, ghetto, whatever it was called, in the late 90s, early 2000s. So
Tupac, good or bad, positive or negative?
Well, he was a brilliant artist, but he was also corrupted. All of them were corrupted. That's what they did.
But a lot of Tupac's lyrics seem to be empowering.
Yes, amazing.
To people in the ghetto.
Amazing. But after Dre's, the last album, I think it was 2001, The Chronic or whatever, it all went south. And that's exactly when the CIA got involved in pop culture and destroyed everything.
And don't think they can't, because the CIA got involved with Elvis Presley. The CIA
They've been always involved in entertainment.
Yeah.
They're involved right now when people turn their TV on.
Dude, all you have to know is that Jim Morrison, lead singer of The Doors, his dad was the admiral in charge of the ships in the Gulf of Tonkin incident that started Vietnam.
Hello. I know, dude. People have no idea. Again, Truman Show. All right, Essenes. We're going to talk about doing the work, folks. Okay, so real quick summary, because I know everyone who watched last week's show, I put all the books in there. So just to get you back to where we are. So the first book is the Dolores Cannon, Jesus and the Essenes. The second book is the Essenes, Children of the Light, which is by Stuart Wilson and Joanna Prentice. Amazing.
Jimmy Jones says it's amazing.
Yes, this is an absolutely amazing book. And then the third book, which I'm reading now, is called The Power. Okay, and this is where it gets really great. So for the women out there, Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary, the information that we have been told about them in the Abrahamic religious teachings is all covered up, scam, lie. Jeff knows. It's all complete BS. So Mary Magdalene, and again, I'll save this for another show because I'm not all the way through it. I'm like 80 pages in it. But Mary Magdalene was essentially the highest level initiate. Like the description of who she was is pretty unbelievable. I just want to
Jay, let me just tell you that I think Mary Magdalene wrote all of the writings that are attributed to the Apostle John.
100%. Well, I can assure you. So this
and I don't think that Rush Limbaugh's Jim Morrison. No.
So Mary Magdalene was a master soul. She was an initiate who had reached the very highest levels of attainment within the Isis system of Egypt, a system that was widely respected throughout the Middle East as the mainstream mystery school tradition at the time. So to be in the presence of a high Isis initiate was something that many people would have seen as a great blessing. So what I like about this book is that as they go down through these regressions and they talk to people that were around the time and were seeing this, the Stewart guy, who's the Wilson author, he writes his little notes. So he tries to tie all the books together. It's really, really enriching. So as you read the books, you can stay focused. But he says Isis, the high priestess moon goddess, was one of the most important deities in the Egyptian pantheon. We know this. But as the wife of Osiris and the mother of Horus, she had a central position in that system, and she was regarded as the goddess of magic, alchemy, and supreme wisdom. She was often called upon those who needed help with past life memories. So anyway, this book, without going into the details, is literally like the story of Mary Magdalene and her disciples. And so, Jeff, her disciples, after Jesus was gone, wherever you want to think of him after he died, right, he left, resurrected, ascended, whatever, they were the ones that were teaching the way.
Mm-hmm.
And
Augustine called Mary Magdalene the apostle to the apostles.
Right. She was exactly. And again, the Catholic Church has covered up everything about Mary Magdalene. It was all suppressed. I mean, I remember growing up as a kid, Jeff, going to school, going to Catholic church every day, Monday through Wednesday, going to 30-minute mass every morning and having them talking about Mary Magdalene was what did they call her? What was the horrible term? A prostitute. And then there were other things they called her. I mean, a blasphemer.
Demon possessed.
Dude, it's unbelievable, man. It's so unbelievable. But so here's the gift, right? The gift is we are now in a day and time and age, for now, where they haven't limited our ability to grab these books off of Amazon for, if you have an Audible or what do you call it, a Kindle thing.
Kindle,
it's free. But if you're like me and you want ink and paper, it's $10, okay? And you can read this stuff. And you guys, I'm not kidding you. And there's obviously people that are in our Jeff and I's group that are reading these books now. And the energy that is contained in these books will truly uplift you. It's unbelievable.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely amazing as you read these books, how uplifting they are. But everything, you can find out everything in these books. It's all right here. They can't cover it up. Are you open? Is your mind open enough to receiving the information?
And even if it's not, reading the books, get the information into your head, and maybe over a period of time, it'll shake out to where you can actually process it. And I mean, at least put it into your brain so it's there.
Yeah. And
didn't you say today that you found a fourth book to that series?
Yeah. So one of our good friends who will remain unnamed for the time being, put that in there. And I haven't bought it, but I was looking at it on Amazon, and it's $455 for a 226-page paperback.
Wow.
So what may be contained in that book? Actually, that's a good point. What is the name of that book? Hold on. I was just looking at that.
Yeah, I forgot what it was. I just remember you.
It's called The Magdalene Version. The Magdalene Version, Secret Wisdom from a Gnostic Mystery School, again, by Stuart Wilson. So the fourth book right here, $459.55. Only 2 left in stock.
Yeah.
Dude.
I'll wait till you read it. You can tell me about it.
Amazing. Absolutely crazy. So, I mean, I'm just reading the summary because our friend is reading it right now. And he says the book explains who she really was. It
Great
says,
stuff.
yeah, it's absolutely amazing. All Gnostics believed in dual creation, although some Gnostics certainly did, and the idea of heaven created by God and the material world created by a lesser divine being, the demiurge, would now seem very strange indeed to most people in the West. But to the Gnostics, the theology was just a series of mind games that their most brilliant thinkers like to indulge in. Theology was a diversion to the Gnostics, not the heart of things, as it was for the mainstream Christian followers of Peter and Paul. So you're right, Jeff, and you've said this in your books, but Peter and Paul, in ways probably they didn't even realize they were doing, they were probably under the influence of the energy in a lot of ways, completely shifted the teachings of the way, or the Christian, foundation.
Well, Paul did it on purpose. That was he was an agent to do it. And again, let me say, I think that Mary Magdalene wrote the Gospel of John. She wrote 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John, those small epistles, and the legitimate parts of the book of Revelation she wrote.
Right. I that book, I mean, I'm not far enough in, I'm 68 pages in, but I would say that that's where it's headed, because the power and the reverence that they give her in that book, it's just amazing.
And think about it. If those had been written in that day by a woman, they'd have been rejected.
Oh yeah.
So she had to write under a pseudonym, a pen name.
So one of the things, so one of the things that
and she's the one that Jesus laid on his breast on, the disciple that Jesus loved. He wasn't gay, folks. No, she was his lady.
She was.
In the Gospel of Philip, it says some of the other apostles are like, why do you kiss her on the mouth and you don't kiss us on the mouth? And Jesus literally says, bros, take a look at her.
Exactly.
And tell me why I kiss her on the mouth and not you on the mouth.
She was beautiful. And honestly, again,
she was a fine, beautiful, redheaded woman is what they believe.
So here's my guess.
Maybe a strawberry blonde. I don't know.
Well, here's my guess. She was Druidic or Celtic, so that would make sense that she did have red hair or strawberry blonde. But I think that, again, the Masons, that whoever's in charge running things through entertainment and stuff like that, like Wonder Woman, Princess Diana, all of these, archetypes are ISIS driven.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The main ISIS human was Mary Magdalene.
Yep. They all go back to Aphrodite, and they all go back to the sacred feminine.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's what I wanted to say is that, in my limited only 65 pages of reading that so far, and I plan on finishing that in the next 3 days when I'm traveling through Arizona. Jesus, and this, Jeff, Jesus talked about the only way that you could transfer the way was through the divine feminine essence, because the divine feminine essence can feel before doing, right? As men, as masculine, we want to do. We're going to go out and do things, and we're going to react, viscerally, physically, whereas women are going to feel and be emotional about it. And that was the best way to transfer the energy of the divine feminine spark. And the Holy Spirit, by the way, is the divine feminine.
Absolutely.
That's what
the word parakletos in the New Testament, I'm convinced, is a feminine word, and the Holy Spirit is feminine.
So my teacher taught me
this just hit me. Each of us, we have a higher spirit, a higher self that communicates with us.
It's the divine essence.
All of our higher selves our feminine part?
Yes, it's our divine feminine essence. It is, dude.
Wow, that's powerful.
So in Aramaic, the word is, and I'm probably going to butcher this, but the word is rucha dekucha, and somebody probably can look that up.
Ruach da.
That's the divine feminine in Aramaic.
Yep.
And when you immerse yourself,
Jano says Lilith. Don't think Lilith doesn't fit into this, and don't think there isn't a reason that Lilith has been demonized. Yeah,
I mean, again, the evil, whatever you want to call them, the dark forces, the demiurge, they're so good in their ways, and they're so easy to manipulate everyone. I think, like you said, Jeff, plastic Jesus was created. They can create opposites. Again, the false light, exactly. The liquid smokeless fire, the Dijin, it's literally an inversion of the real thing.
Yeah. Jay, up until the mid 400s, I'll save that for another time. So let's soldier on. No, I got to soldier on. I'm getting into something I'm going to talk about later.
Okay. Gotcha. The thing is with time, though, I don't really even know how we even classify time anymore, dude. How do we?
You don't. I mean, is it, I'm the more I think about it, the more convinced I am is that all time that's ever been is here concurrently, and we're just tuning in to different frequencies.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I mean, you got all these people now talking about the mud flood, and no, we're not going to talk about that. But I mean, they all, their claim is that 1,000 years has been just added on. And that really, and then if you go to John Pinella, right? John Pinella says it's every 1,200 years.
Why add 1,000 years on?
I have no idea. I have no clue. No idea. I mean, again, if time
and I
is
think
relative,
Zach at Gematria Effect News did something on Mary Magdalene.
by the way, Zach is inside there right now.
He is. I just saw him, and Tracy hid his link, but if we can bring that one back and let it go, Tracy, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah. What's up, Zach? How you doing, brother? Thanks for watching. Yeah, he was talking about, I saw him. He said something about Joan Rivers. She died on the
Oh, it was Joan Rivers. He did something about a gematria about Joan Rivers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he respond to you on all those 11s you saw in the NCAA tourney?
That wasn't Zach. I did it to that other guy, Gary, the numbers guy on Twitter. He never responds to anything. I know he follows me, but he never responds to anything I write. But ask Zach, if you're still watching, what was going on with that 11-11-11 with 11-11 to go? Yeah, that was crazy. That was Kentucky versus Wofford on Saturday. That was nuts. And then the big CBS eye, like staring at you. I was like, wow. I saw that picture and I was like, no way. But a bunch of people were talking about it all online.
Yeah, Joan had an endoscopy. It wasn't even surgery. It was endoscopy, and she died. Oh, they knocked that sister off. That's so sad.
They definitely killed her, man. She spoke wrongly of our president.
And she wasn't even trying to be mean. She was just like, don't worry about it. It's okay. But she let out some information that she obviously wasn't supposed to let out.
So the one thing I wanted to bring up about this book, about the Elohim, is that it's interesting. Like, so it says right here, I'm just going to read this real quick. It says, all Essenes shared a great reverence for angels. So obviously we know that the order of Melchizedek is an angelic order.
Interesting.
And especially for the Elohim, who are very high angelic beings who stand above the level of archangel. Now, I don't want people to get confused, because if you read that book, and a lot of our followers have read that book, Jehovah Unmasked, that guy, talks about the Elohim in negative fashion all the time. But if you do finish that entire book and you read through it, he does admit that there are parts of the Elohim that were positive, right? There's a lot of Elohim. So,
anytime you have a class of beings, you're going to have some positive and some negative.
Exactly. And then you're going to have some too that are like chaotic neutral. So they're not really, they don't take a side. But it's interesting. He says, the Elohim we saw as filling their places by reason of merit and not through being created great. We saw them as rising upwards from lesser angels or from the equivalent of human beings through great ages of cosmic development until they reach that high level. So Jeff, that goes back to your point where you said, what if, we are the aliens? I mean, think about it. If we really are, created in the likeness, then what if just the difference between an angelic being, an order of Melchizedek, an Elohim, whatever, and us is just time? And you evolving, meaning your soul evolving, you figuring out what you're here for. So before you go back to that cosmic energy ball, that biophoton ball of plasma, you just evolve and you learn what's important, which we know it's important, right? Love, forgiveness, acceptance, service. That's what's important. So it may take a being a long time to evolve, but once you undo, that's what you become, an angel, an angel, or an Elohim, or whatever.
I like it.
It says there are many ways of perceiving God. The Essenes found the symbolism of light most helpful. We saw human beings as children of the light, dwelling perhaps for a while in the shadow of darkness here on earth, but coming home at last into the light in which is their birthright and their destiny. For the heart of every human being burns the light of God's presence. And so at the deepest level, we are light, and returning to light is returning to our fundamental nature. Even though a human being may have fallen into error, still the essence of God. And by the way, I guess you guys haven't figured that out. The Essene, the essence.
Good stuff.
Within longs for the light, and forgiveness and love are the ways in which light expresses itself within our lives and teaches us how to grow closer to God. God manifests as the light which illumines our path and as the spirit within, which makes our inner development possible. As we live in joy and harmony and love, we live in the nature of God, and the light steadily expands within us. The expansion of the light anchors us in the true nature of our being. It nourishes us and allows us to unfold our talents and our abilities as children of the light. Walking in the spirit, and while inspired by the light, we become expressions of God upon earth. As spirit merges with matter in us, we complete our task here and prepare to ascend to the spiritual realms. That's pretty profound stuff.
That is profound stuff.
So, I mean, guys, it's very simple, man. You don't get caught up in the affairs of the physical realm. Yes, we have to pay our bills. We do have to live and exist in the money magic system. But as long as you do it with love and service and kindness, and don't take advantage of people and not be a victim. And when things go bad or happen to you, you don't blame others. You take responsibility. I mean, we talked about this, Jeff. I teach my daughters that they are responsible for everything. No matter what goes wrong, it was their choice, and that's why it happened. When they tell me it wasn't my fault or so-and-so at school or blah, 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 I said, nope, it's your fault. Are you going to take ownership for it?
You got to.
When you take
made
ownership,
me feel, she made me feel, nobody makes you feel anything.
Exactly. When you take ownership for every single thing that happens in your life, I promise you, and make that your will. And you know, again, the way, that's your way. You're not going to have all this nonsense that constantly evolves in most people's lives, right? It's always a choice.
You'll never be a victor as long as you allow yourself to be a victim.
So true, man. It's so true.
You got to take responsibility. And even if it's not your responsibility, it's still a more powerful path.
It's mind-blowing to see how pop culture, how everything tries, again, using the word tries because it never works, to get us to believe that it's not our fault.
Right.
Everything is teaching us that we are a victim of something else.
Well, right now, everything's Donald Trump's fault or white guy's fault, one or the other.
Right. I mean, exactly. I mean, it's just it's so simple, but yet we make it so hard. And obviously society disunifies us by making it so hard because
just
constantly
take personal responsibility. Nobody's coming back to save you. Your ship's not coming in. You have to swim out and meet it. You're not a victim. And even if you are, you've got to take control and responsibility, because until you take responsibility, you'll never take control. Until you take control, you'll never be in charge of your own life.
Dude, think of you just made me think of this. Think of just the whole idea of the lottery. People buy lottery tickets because it's sold to them that the ship is going to come in.
And I hate to say this, I don't hate to say it, but this is going to upset some people. But the fact of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, the lottery is a tax on stupidity.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Because anyone who knows anything about probability, and you learned that in 5th grade. Well, actually, Jeff, when you and I grew up, we learned that. They don't teach these kids any of that today. It's mind-blowing to me whenever I interact with younger guys or gals. Again, I usually say under the age of 25, how little they understand on how to critically think. It's mind-blowing.
They just don't have it. They just don't have the capacity.
Never been taught it.
It's crazy. They do have it. You're right. And, you know, I forget where I was the other day, but I'm thinking about all of these Democrats. And the big thing now is free education through the collegiate level, free healthcare. Think about that, Jay. Right now, you get free education through grade 12. So if we give you free education through the collegiate level, now we get 4 more years to indoctrinate you. Right. And if we give you free, quote unquote, health care, that means we get to strap you into our sick care system. So they're trying to give you things for free that will keep you a slave forever. Hello, wake up.
It's absolutely true. I've never seen, when you really start looking at things for the way they are, that's what it is. It's literally indoctrination camps at every level. They want people to just say, okay, what do you want me to do? Instead of saying, wait a minute, they want you to say, okay, what do you need me to do? It's, again, we've said it a million times. It's go along, get along. Everyone has been engineered to not question authority, the narrative, why things are the way they are. And again, the screens reinforce this, right? It's just a constant bombardment of imagery of go along, get along. This is the way it is.
Path of least resistance. It's 1984 all over again.
Yeah.
That wasn't just a novel. That was prophecy.
I mean, and it's like on steroids times 100, dude, because I mean, I'm telling you, when you go into schools, and again, I have these younger daughters, and I see the stuff they bring home. I mean, bro, they bring home mounds of paperwork, just mounds of inconsequential, busy work, meaningless, doesn't teach you anything. I mean, I look at some of the stuff that my daughter, my 5th grade daughter is really smart, right? And I'm looking at some of these math things that they're doing, and I'm like, what in the hell is this? There is zero value in any of this. They will never use this in any area of their life. Bro, our educational system at this point is a complete farce. Literally,
it's completely a farce.
There's zero value. There's no life skills being taught. None. I mean, none. They don't know anything about money. They can't count change. It's incredible what is happening. And yet, what do? I mean, unless you homeschool your kids, you don't have an option. And most parents are busy working in the money magic system. What are you going to do? You can't homeschool your kids, And and by the way, this doesn't matter. You could send them to like a really expensive, if you have the money, private school. It's the same stuff. I mean, my daughters don't go to a private school. We're in a magnet school district, and we have one of the best schools, but it's still California public education, which is garbage. Yeah. I mean, I look at some of the stuff that these guys are at, and I'm like, this is stuff I was in 2nd grade.
Yeah, and then even when I was down in South Florida, I was, aware of a little girl that was going to a very exclusive private school, and the math was a higher level math, but they were still getting this same old stupid propaganda. And this was a Christian quote unquote school, and they were still getting indoctrinated by the same old crap. It was just really nice crap.
Dude, it's everywhere. And again, like I said, people don't question the narrative. It's like, I'll give you a simple story. Like today, one of my sales guys, who's actually a very bright guy, and we've coached him up and trained him really, really well. And he went to buy a car, and he went to a dealership who the owner is my friend. Okay. And so he asked me, he's like, hey, can you make a call, put in a good word for me? I said, no problem, but then I start talking to him, and I'm like, okay, well, what are you going to buy? I don't know. I'm like, what? You're going to a car dealership and you don't know? Well, there's like 3 cars I want to test drive. Okay, that's cool. But dude, are you going to buy or are you going to lease? Well, I haven't thought about it. What should I do? And I'm just like, he's 26.
Oh my God.
Like, I know. I'm like, bro, I told him, I'm like, call me now. So he called me, and I'm like, I give him the story. I'm like, dude, you got to put some critical thought into this. You don't just go down to an auto dealership without an idea of what you want to do and not expect to get destroyed. But again, it goes back to the idea that they lack critical thinking skills.
Absolutely. There is no critical thinking skill anymore.
They really honestly, and I've had people say to me, Jay, it's a good thing, right? Nobody is like, they don't think about getting taken advantage of, but it's like, or people taking advantage of them. But then I'm like, oh no, because we still live in the realm of the demiurge. And if you don't think about that, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get your head ripped off.
And and on some level, some part of me says, you know what? If he walks into the dealership without doing his homework, without knowing what he wants, he's going to get exactly what he deserves.
And we both know that is the way the world works.
Absolutely.
You get what you deserve. But Jeff, again, and that's a great point. I'm glad you said that. But that's where we're headed again. This is why I don't have this, kumbaya feeling of where we're going, because if everybody lacks critical thinking skills, well, then what ultimately happens? What happens in 20 years when these guys are calling the shots and you and I are, in our golden ages and, walking around not working anymore?
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, and I'm going to do this, and I probably shouldn't do this, but even within what we call the truther realm, we've got people that don't have critical thinking skills.
No. They watch
think of some of the doctrines and beliefs that these people have. Well, I saw it on YouTube, man. I saw a video, dude.
I saw it on YouTube.
Watching YouTube is not study. Watching YouTube is not the inside job. Watching YouTube is not soul development, ladies and gentlemen.
It's mind blowing. When people tell me, well, I don't have time to read a book, I'm like, well, but you have time to watch YouTube. Well, yeah, it's in front of me, it's in the background and I can do this and do that. And you're not doing anything. And again, and I know this because I, put this in some of my books, like the human brain does not process information like it does when it reads, it highlights, it takes notes, and it goes back to it. When
you're stimulating more neural pathways. And
exactly. When the human brain watches things, there's nothing but regurgitation. And there's studies that prove it. Like the data is like, you don't even hold on to it till the next day. You hold on to like literally 40% of what you watched. And then by the third day, it's almost nothing. You know, and again, why do you think these videos and this type of technology is so ubiquitous all across the world? Because again, the whole goal is to dumb us down.
So why are we even on YouTube then, Jay? Why are we wasting our time?
Well, we're clearly not, because we're actually talking about what is happening and giving solutions to the ulterior. We're not just sitting here just like telling you guys you're all a bunch of morons.
And we're not telling you what to think. We're not telling you to follow us. We're not telling you that we're the two witnesses. We're not telling you that we're the ones with the answers. We're telling you that you're the one with the answers. You just got to shake your damn self and start asking questions and start questioning those answers. Quit depending on somebody else. Jay Campbell's not going to save you. Jeff Daugherty's not going to save you. You got to do it. Hopefully we'll give you the kick in the butt or the pat on the back that you need every now and then. But brothers, sisters, it ain't us. It's you.
Let me just finish with this statement, and then we can wrap it up. So regarding the Essene again, they asked again, and just so you guys know, who knows what's happening right now, but I have a very good sneaky suspicion that the Essene are back in a lot of ways.
Ooh, that's a good point.
And probably, creating their own orders again right now amongst us, because that's how they lived 2,000 years ago. And again,
right.
Timelines are skewed. So this is about that. They said. So was the Essene Brotherhood, that's what they were phrasing in this book, in touch with other Essene orders or ancient brotherhoods? And this is from the guy Daniel, who's like the main person of the time that they were regression hypnosis. He says, of course, the Essenes could move safely from our land to distant places, for example, up through all the Celtic lands to Britain. Whatever order you belong to at the highest level, all orders became one as the sides of the pyramid merge in a single point.
Ooh,
all
nice.
sages, this is pretty profound. All sages are of one heart, knowing that all life is one and that all human beings share the same origin as children of the light and the same goal, to merge with that light. We saw the triumph of the light. This is important, guys. We saw the triumph of the light as something that must come, perhaps not for many years after Jesus or even many centuries. But however long it takes, we saw the triumph of the light, the victory of God and of love and truth, as sure and certain as the rising of the sun.
See, Jay, that's why I'm still optimistic.
Yes, exactly. All flows from the Spirit and from the light. We are children of the light, children of God, and light is our source, our goal, and our destiny. This view of things has become central to my life. Again, this is Daniel, and was arrived at through study, discussion, reflection, and attunement over 30 years. Let me repeat that. Jeff, this view of things has become central to my life and was arrived at through study, discussion, which is what we're doing right now, reflection and attunement over 35 years of my life.
Wow.
35 years, guys, he put in the work to become an Essene elder, a master. When I saw that this had become so important for me, I fashioned a form of words to reflect it. This is powerful. Write this down if you're listening. I believe in the universe around me and in the presence within. We know that God is within.
Ooh.
I believe in the power of the Spirit. I believe in the triumph of the light. This is what I believe in, and this is where I stand. I actually put that in my phone.
I like that.
I put that in my phone, and that comes up 3 times a day now on my phone, and I read it. Very powerful stuff, man.
Rose, Sandra is not my wife. We're no longer together. Sorry to break that to you, sweetheart.
That's okay, man. Some people
That's okay.
figure stuff
I
out.
understand. That's okay.
Yep. So 6 minutes, dude, until an hour. You want to take questions real quick from people?
Yeah, I already put in there. If you have questions, hit us with them.
Yep. So guys, just if you don't know the books, they're in the last week's show.
Have you read or watched Interview with an Alien, Jay?
I have. Yeah, it's old school. Gerald and I actually did a podcast on it a long time ago. That's the one with the what's it called?
I haven't watched it.
No, it's what is it called? The Domain Expeditionary Forces. Yes, I'm very familiar with that interview.
Thumbs up or thumbs down?
No, it's good. It's definitely good. Definitely good.
What do we think of the Ascended Brotherhood? Is that Charlie's asking? I think that's the Great White Brotherhood. We're kind of,
I I think that I think that, again, we talked about this with Bob. We love Bob. We think that Bob is a really good person. And remember, there's different forms. The ascended, the Great White Brotherhood is different from than some of the ascended Masters Brotherhood. There's different websites online. There's no question that there are beings that are in the in-between, whatever you want to call it, who are astral beings who have gone on, but do we know whether they're benevolent or not? No. And we actually don't think that some of them actually are the way the information that we have heard and gotten.
Right. Interesting. What do you think about the Rosicrucians?
I mean, I'm very open about this. All of the great secret societies all had amazing merit and wisdom.
Yep.
They were all descended from the Egyptian mystery schools, which so did the Essene, but most of them, as you know, Jeff, were corrupted. And almost everything I would say today, if somebody says, oh, I'm a member of the Masons of so-and-so order in Pennsylvania or Florida or Nebraska, they don't really understand the true initiate school wisdom. It's all been corrupted. And Gerald did a podcast about that a long time ago, if I remember. And he said that it was with Mayer Rothschild, back in the late 1690 something is when he said that the bifurcation happened when all the mystery schools were corrupted. And I forget the guy's name. There's a really awesome guy. It's Lawrence, whatever his last name is. It escapes me right now, but Lawrence Fonlier or something like that. He's a knight now, but he's written a bunch of amazing books on when and how the Mason, well, not just the Masons, but all of the secret societies and orders were corrupted.
Did the Rockefeller patriarch just die?
Yeah, he did.
What do you think about that? Source Frequency's asking. I didn't even know about that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he just died on, I think it was Friday or Saturday. So they say in the news. I mean, who knows? I mean, these people, if we believe that there really is archons and energies and negative energies and constructs and they inhabit these people's bodies, who knows? I mean, who really knows? I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. I have no comment.
Naughty Beaver doesn't come on other shows.
Yeah, we've asked him to. Yeah, I've actually asked him like 3 times to come on our show, but he won't come on the show.
He doesn't do other stuff.
Right. But he does watch us. He does follow us because he comments and he sent me, I've gotten emails from him. So I know he's familiar with us.
So the Rockefeller patriarch died. I did not know that.
Zach, it was March 22nd. Yeah, there you go.
Has the torch passed? That's a good question.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Sorry. There's so much craziness happening on the earth right now.
There is. Jay, what's the one thing that you do above and beyond everything else right now? The one thing you focus on the most? What's the most important thing when you wake up in the morning?
To be devotional, to be fully devotional, to just accept the idea that if I choose to do right by people and obviously surrender to the highest power, which is God, which is inside of me. I guess it's easier to say, you really have to understand that there's no external. Everything is inside. You have everything. You have all the keys to the kingdom and to your destiny by doing the inner work and doing the things that you and I talk about all the time, but then realizing that God is inside all of us.
Yeah.
And I think have that connection.
Wasn't it Zig Ziglar way back in the day that said, if it is to be, it's up to me?
Exactly.
And 100%. It's still true.
It totally is, man. I mean, I would say, to answer that further is like every morning I wake up and I have my morning ritual and I do what I got to do and nothing stops it. No kids screaming, no dogs barking, no Monica saying, do this, do that. You gotta have that centering of your, life where you have me time, and that me time is exploring, you becoming a stronger, better version of you.
Yep. And going back to the Rosicrucians, I think that any of the, the great wisdom societies probably have things that you can learn. And Mark says, smell Absolutely. The aroma of the cross or of the rose. And you know what? I'm with you. I'll smell the aroma of the rose too, because a rose by any other name is still a rose. And there's some wisdom there. That doesn't mean that we drink the Kool-Aid, but there is some wisdom there. And I think in most of these great wisdom societies, there's things to learn.
So Jeff, good question, because I know a lot of people ask us and we get these emails all the time. Like, what do you think is going to happen to the United States over the next 10 years, really?
What do I think what's going to happen to the United States in the next 10 years?
Yeah.
You really want me to tell you what I think?
Yeah. I mean, do you think it crashes and burns? Do you think states just succeed? I mean, what do you think ultimately happens?
I think that we're probably going to see a, if not a golden age, a resurgence. I think good times are coming. Now, we may see a declination of the strong central government and may see more regional or even statewide governments. But I think you see a return to a closer model of Jeffersonian Republican democracy. I think you see a more return to sovereignty and freedom. I think, like Thomas Jefferson said, a little bit of revolution every now and then is a good thing, and a little bit of what some would call anarchy every now and then is a good thing. I see good times coming ahead. I know I'm the only one, but I still do.
I'm totally with you. I just think, and I don't know how to get out of this, and maybe a jubilee is the answer.
Yeah.
But with all of the debt, knowing that no one's paying their student loan debts, knowing that there's such a bifurcation of, wealth right now that like everything is consolidating with the richest people, like there has to be some great, moment that creates the golden age. But there's no doubt in my mind too, that getting beyond that is the golden age.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Just to me, it's just a matter of, do we have to face like a catastrophic depression to change everything? So that, because if you think about it, we almost do need to go back to what you were saying to talk about a Jeffersonian republic. People then knew what living on, with austerity was, and people knew about frugality, and people knew about like living within your means. Like we're now in this bizarre construct where people don't have any rational understanding of what it's like to actually be conservative.
That's true.
I mean, when I say conservative, you know what I mean? I'm saying, conservation of everything, energy, food, resources, money. Mm-hmm. No one lives that way because the demiurge promotes.
And you know what, Jay? It's funny because there's this crazy, most people think that don't have money. Oh, rich people, they just spend their money. Rich people do whatever they want. But the people that do count every penny, the people that are conservative, the people that won't spend money frivolously, guess what? They're the rich people. Exactly. And there's a reason why they got rich. One of my good friend, worth $50 million or so, and I have sat there and watched him in his mansion on his granite countertop cutting coupons for Publix, which is our grocery store. His wife does her own toenails because she didn't want to spend $50 at the salon.
I believe it.
And they're worth 50 million plus. That's one of the reasons why.
People just, again, you talked about the lottery. You don't see rich people playing lotteries.
No.
Rich people are not out doing scratchers.
They are not doing scratchers. I did for 500. I'll guarantee you that doesn't cover the money you've lost in your silly lifetime scratching.
Listen, there's an amazing book that any one of you guys can get probably on Amazon used for $2. And it's called The Compound Effect. And it's written by Darren Hardy. And a lot of you guys know who Darren Hardy is. He's like the guy, the Success Magazine dude. He actually sold it now. But some of my friends coached or did coach under him. And I remember getting that book about 7 years ago and reading it. It's a very short read. It's 160 pages, but it will teach you the value of taking money or assets or anything and saving incrementally over time. And then to look at 3 years, 5 years, 7, 10, 15, 20, 30, with just like a small rate of inflation or a small rate of appreciation. And just when you see it, again, as you know, right, we sometimes have to see things, Jeff, it's mind blowing.
It is.
A person who makes $40,000 a year over 30 years using the compound effect can become a millionaire.
Absolutely.
There's no reason to stop you, but you have to avoid the consume, buy.
That's right.
Obey.
You got to forget about what the Joneses are doing, brother.
Exactly, dude.
Because the Joneses are broke. It don't matter what it looks like on the outside. They are broke.
I mean, honestly, it is so simple with technology too. Again, remember, as much as it's dark, there's so much light because you can literally set up things that happen automatically that you don't even know happen.
Yeah.
$100 a week, $100 on Monday, $100 on Friday. And you do that for a long time. And again, you invest in something that, is growing at whatever rate, if it's a stock market, you're definitely going to have appreciation over 10 years if it's divested correctly, if you're using dollar cost averaging and stuff. We should probably do a show on that, dude.
We
We should
probably
probably do a show on using the compound effect and use like somebody, and you know what? That's what we'll do, dude. We'll do a student who has no income but makes 10 grand a year in jobs. We'll make a person who makes 40 to 50, and then we'll take 100 grand. So a 6-figure wage earner, and we'll show what you can do over 30 years with just the bare minimum of the compound.
Yeah. And somebody, who was it? Somebody said, if I didn't date women, I'd have a lot more money. Now, brother, let me share something with you. Here's the way it goes. It's not that you have to stop dating women, but it's if I never dated women, I'd be rich, said Mike. Mike, here's the deal, bro. It's not that you have to stop dating women. It's just you don't take her to Ruth Chris on the first date.
Right. Exactly.
Don't take her to Ruth Chris on the first date. Find out if somebody really likes you. Have a picnic in the park. Sit on a bench. Go to someplace for what are the happy hours where you get the appetizers for cheap. Find out if they like you or if they like your wallet. What's the matter with you? Don't take her to Ruth Chris the first date. I used to make that mistake. I learned.
Yeah, we all do. By the way, the bearded ones had some great comments. He says the Jones are living on plastic.
They are. It's like a duck.
That is the United States, dude.
You look at a duck on the top of the wall. Like I sit there and I look out at these ducks and they look so calm and serene. But under the water, man, they're going like hell.
Dude, I will tell you this right now. I was thinking about this the other day. If they just passed a rule tomorrow that, all the credit card companies stopped allowing people that were buried in credit card debt to move card to card. Oh my God. Could you imagine how fast people will be wiped out? Because that's what they do. They make money on the interest, right?
Yeah.
They allow somebody that has an $18,000 credit line and he's maxed out at 20 grand to move it to a new card. And now that person has $30,000, but the interest rate, goes up, 3 points. It's the same scam. It's a compound effect with credit card companies.
I've seen and we're over time, but I've seen a comment 3 or 4 times here about pretty women want pretty things, Dude, you're looking at the wrong pretty women.
Yeah.
Pretty women want pretty things, but it's not always the things. The real woman is a woman that looks beyond what you're driving to the man that's driving it. The real woman doesn't care about the suit the man's wearing. The real woman cares about the man that's in the suit.
Exactly, dude.
So you got to be willing to walk away. It's a takeaway, bro. Jay, explain to these kind people what the takeaway is.
Just be yourself, guys. It's that simple.
Just be yourself, bro. And you just got to be willing to walk away. Some of these pretty girls, you walk away from them and they will chase you forever because they're not used to it.
It's 100%. It works every single time. When you're actually not showing that you're interested in them, that's when you really got them.
Yeah. It's sad. Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Yeah. I mean,
so who's going to win the March Madness, Jay?
You know what, dude? I honestly don't have any idea. I think it's still wide open.
Dude, they stole it from UCF yesterday.
Dude. Okay, I have to, before we go, so I have to say this, and I wasn't in our group, but I was in another group. So I'm in a college basketball WhatsApp group too. And I literally told all those guys with 12 minutes left, I swear to you, bro, I'll show you, I'll send you the screenshot. I said, guys, it's impossible for Duke to lose because I said it. I said the Demiurge is not going to allow that kind of revenue generation machine to be out in the second round of the tournament.
They're not.
And dude, if you watch that game, I mean, we could go into conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory, but first off, in the last 10 seconds of the game, Zion Williamson, it was an offensive foul. Then he fouls out Taco Fall. Actually, this is the last 30 seconds. Then he fouls out Taco Fall, and Taco Fall is just 7'8", and his arms are up.
Yeah.
Does nothing. Of course, foul on him. He's gone. Zion misses the free throw. Now, dude, if you watch the replay, and I've seen this like 20 times on Twitter, Jeff, they pushed the guy for UCF in the back to get the rebound.
Yeah.
It was plain as day right in front of the official, and they do nothing. And then at the end of the game, right, the guy shoots the shot, it goes in and out, and then Dawkins' son, who's amazing. Dude, he makes that shot 99.9 times.
Chocolate Thunder, son?
No, Johnny Dawkins, the coach.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought you were talking about Daryl Dawkins.
Dude, he tips that ball in, and it goes in 99.9% out of 100, and it didn't go in. I mean, I watched it sit there on the rim. It was like right perfect tap off the square box in the layup, and it fell out. It's almost like
is there a magnet in the ball?
Dude, Jay? It's like, no, it's just like the Demiurge is like, nope.
The Demiurge goaltended and got away with it.
Dude, I mean, seriously, it's like, but I said that and they're like, no way, they're going to lose, and they should have lost. And by the way, how about when he missed the alley-oop, like 2 minutes left?
I have to admit, Jay, if they were playing the Final Four in my front yard, I wouldn't open the blinds. I'm just not in.
I was honestly with my daughter and I was walking through a store and they were all texting me like, you got to watch this. And so I sat down in the store and put on my March Madness app and I watched the last 8 minutes and it was devastating.
Wow.
It was, dude, honestly, it was one of the best NCAA basketball games ever. It really was. It was absolutely amazing. But yeah, Duke cannot lose.
Wow. So does Duke win the whole thing?
I would think if you put a gun to my head, but it's open, dude. I mean, whatever happens, the only thing that matters is money.
Is Coach K still coaching Duke?
Yeah, of course. How much money can they make and generate? That's all that matters. Everything else is inconsequential. It's all about money, but they know that, Duke is a massively either hated or beloved team. So they generate money.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Jay Campbell on March Madness.
Ask, is Zach still in there? Ask Zach. He knows. He probably has already done all the gematria on it.
No, I think I made Zach mad because I wouldn't let him trash your buddy Gary.
Oh, did he? Is that what it was? He trashed Gary? Gary's not my buddy. I don't even know Gary. He just follows me on Twitter. I don't know him.
Yeah, Zach apparently is not Gary's biggest fan. We'll just leave it at that, ladies and gentlemen.
Zach, man, I love you, brother. I got nothing. I don't even know Gary. I've never met him. He just followed me on Twitter. I have no idea who he is. Isn't he the guy that charges everybody money to get his information?
I don't know. I thought we were talking about Gary, the soul guy.
No, Gary, the numbers guy. Yeah.
Oh, is that Gary, the numbers guy?
Yeah, Gary, the numbers guy is also a big gematria guy.
Is he the soul reader guy? Is that what we're talking about?
No, you're talking about Gary. No, totally different guy. No, we're talking about Gary, the numbers guy, is a Twitter profile.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. He's a big gematria guy.
Yeah, but
so Zach and him probably have a
rivalry. Zach felt like you shouldn't be following him, Jay.
I'm not following him. He follows me.
But anyway, ladies and
Gary
gentlemen.
Carlson is who you're talking about. And Gary's probably watching right now. No, not Gary Carlson.
Okay.
No, we love you, Gary Carlson. And Zach, we love you too. And I don't know Gary, the numbers guy. He just follows me on Twitter. No idea who he is.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Anything else that you got there, Jay?
Nope. That was an epic show, man. We appreciate you guys watching. Thank you guys so much.
We do. Best chat room on YouTube. We went over and took an extra 12, 5, 6, 7 seconds, but I think it was worth it. Very, very good to see y'all. Great stuff. Jama does like shiny things. She likes fashion. She likes beautiful perfumes. Whether or not she has them, she likes them. So, hey, sooner or later, you got to step up, but don't take her to Ruth Chris on the first date.
Exactly.
Until next week.
For anybody who's in Arizona, if you're anywhere in Arizona, I will be on Phoenix's Channel 7, which is like the big blowtorch in the whole state. It's the only independent network TV station with like over 2 million homes on Thursday morning. So if you guys are in Scottsdale or Phoenix or anywhere in Arizona, you can watch me. I'll be on live on their morning show. I think it's called The Morning Mix, I think.
So tune into The Morning Mix if you're in Arizona to see our very own Jay Campbell. Until next time, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower, with Jay Campbell, the leading expert on hormone optimization in this great land. Until next time, we appreciate you all very much, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys. We love you guys. Take care.